Good evening. If everyone would find a seat, please. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are ready to begin this evening's board meeting. Sergeant at Arms or designee has the front lobby been attended to ensure public access. Thank you. The school board meeting of August 16th, 2022 is now called to order. The time is 6:01 p.m. We would like to take this opportunity to remind the members of the public of the district's mission, which is to ensure that each student achieves his or her highest personal potential and the district's vision to be a world-class school system. This evening's agenda includes moment of silence, pledge of allegiance, acknowledgements, public comment, consent action items, which include 1 item under board office, 6 items under academic services, 1 item under business services, 2 items under human resources, 11 items under operations, and 4 items under other business. Board members, is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
I move to adopt the agenda as written.
I'll second that.
I'm sorry, Ms. Fisher, was that you? Okay. Okay. So it was moved by Ms. Vaughn and seconded by Ms. Fisher, and please record your votes. Ms. Roman? Oh, it came out.
I clicked it and I guess it didn't go through to you. Yes.
Okay, 7-0, motion carries. And before we begin, I just want to share too, we have a new mic system, so if we forget to turn it off or on, give us a second. We're all trying to get used to pushing that button to make sure that we're being heard. Ms. Fisher will lead us in a moment of silence, after which Ms. Giovanelli will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Fisher, would you lead us in a moment of silence?
Yes, please rise. Bless us all as we gather this evening. As we begin this meeting of our governance team, may we be open to others' ideas and beliefs, respectful and accepting of our differences, patient and kind as we talk. The culture of any organization is shaped by the behavior of the leadership. Working together, may we find a common ground, enable us to move forward with shared purpose. May we see what is truly important and unites us, and focus on that. As we meet here today to serve our community, help us to use our resources wisely and well, to represent all of our stakeholders fairly, and to make decisions that promote the common good. This we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. Ms. Giovanelli, will you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, the character word for August is responsibility. Accountability for your personal choices, obligations, and duties. The price of greatness is responsibility. And you're seeing the design up here. So the design that is displayed on the screen was created by Fernando Castaneda Diaz, a 9th grade student at Riverdale High. The next on the agenda is public comment. Ms. Dupree Bruno, please address the item of public comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. School Board policy provides the opportunity at this point in the meeting to address the board concerning any matter on this meeting's agenda or any other matter relevant to the operation of the school district. If you completed a public comment card, please put it in the basket provided. If you need a public comment card, they are provided by our staff in the hallway. The rules concerning public comment are posted in and will be made from the podium in the front center aisle. Please be advised that the board will not respond during public comment to remarks made by speakers. Speakers and those attending the meeting are expected to act in a respectful manner. The purpose of public comment is to provide feedback on school district issues. Abusive language is prohibited. In addition, clapping, hissing, and booing, unreasonably loud and/or offensive language, swearing, cursing, or display of temper during the public comment time is prohibited. Speakers who fail to follow proper decorum in the chambers will be ruled out of order. Any speaker continuing with such remarks will be required to relinquish the microphone per Board Policy 1.11 and may be removed from the chambers. We will take recesses as necessary if there's not decorum in the chambers. For Board Policy 1.11, the time per speaker is 3 minutes if there are 20 speakers, 2 minutes if there are 30 speakers, and 1 minute if there are 31 speakers or more. The maximum time allotted for public comment is 1 hour, 60 speakers. You will find a countdown on the big screen in the front of the room. Once your time has elapsed, the microphone will automatically shut off. Please state your name when you approach the microphone. I will call your names 5 speakers at a time. Please follow staff's direction when lining up, and we will be lining up in the center aisle, but in the back you'll see the stanchions. When it's time for you to move forward, just come up to the microphone and you will exit on the right side, your right side. Madam Chair, there are 16 speakers for this evening. The time allotted is 3 minutes per speaker.
Thank you. Please make sure you have completed a public comment card if you intend to provide public comments. The card is a public record identifying those who speak and providing contact information to staff for follow-up. The cards are located with staff in the hallway. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the board but did not fill out a comment card? Please raise your hand. Okay. Mr. Dupree Bruno, please proceed with public comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Will the following individuals please line up? Keith Olson, Yerham Devanere, Lou Navarro, Arlise Williams, Sharon McGill.
Can you repeat those names?
Certainly. Keith Olson, Yerham Devanere, Lou Navarro, Arlise Williams, Sharon McGill.
Is that your phone area on here?
Yes. Thank you.
Good evening.
Hi, my name is Keith Olson, and I want to respond to the proposed public participation at board meetings, the new policy that will be dealt with, I guess, in the next meeting or so. I have several comments, and first, item A1, which is on page 1, extends the time limit for all 3 speakers, or all speakers, to 3 minutes, regardless the number of presenters. And I thank you for that. I think that's a good move. However, item D on page 1 reduces the allotted time for public comment from 60 minutes to 30 minutes, a reduction of 50%. This policy would also effectively reduce the number of speakers. The proposed change provides that additional speakers who registered their intent could speak at the end of the meeting. Clearly, the board is devaluing public comment. It may have importance if the comments could be made at the beginning of the meeting to your decision-making process. Asking questions of you or providing input for your consideration after your action has taken place is clearly for us an exercise in futility. Please keep the public comment section at the beginning of the meeting at the current 60 minutes. Item C on page 1 states that speakers must indicate on the speaker's form 1 support, opposition or neutrality on a proposition. Similarly, item B on page 2 states that speakers must provide their name and address prior to speaking. These are changes from the current practice and the current policy that seem unnecessary, and in the case of our address, an invasion of privacy. So I ask you to not make those changes. Item C on page 2 reads, all statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No person may address or question board members individually, unquote. Likewise, item E1 on page 2 allows that a speaker may be interrupted, warned, or terminated, I assume not the speaker, but the presenting, if the comments are personally directed. I understand that there is no dialogue between the public and the board members during public comment. However, clarity often requires directly addressing one or more board members on specific statements that they have made. Not all decisions made by the board are accomplished by unanimous vote. Before voting, you are 7 individuals. After voting, you act as one board. Therefore, we should be able to address individuals in a respectful manner prior to your voting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker can come on down.
No,
So I'm going to mispronounce your name again. I'm going to do my best. Mr. Yoram Devonair? My apologies for mispronouncing it.
Jacob Dervahanyan, Lehigh Acres, Florida. Good evening. I love my country, but I fear my government. I attended board meetings since Nancy Graham was superintendent. Then we had Atkins and Savage. This is probably the worst school board that I've ever seen. Terrible, terrible. I've been through a lot of school boards. A lot of them got some things done, but I didn't see all the arguing, lawsuits. You know, this school board went after a white farmer because of what he said. Freedom of speech. You don't know what freedom of speech is? No. Because he was a white farmer, you don't like what he said. This school board goes after the wrong thing. Reading, writing, arithmetic. You know, I think you're influenced by terrorist groups like the NAACP, Black Lives Matter, Antifa, LGBTQAREGG, whatever. We need new board members. There's elections coming up, and we need a sweep. We want people that want education for our kids, and none of this political stuff. It's ridiculous. If you would have done your job, I wouldn't be up here. But you people don't do your job. Again, I've been coming here for 8 years or more. This is not the best school board. I'm sorry to say, you don't work for the kids. You work for your political feelings. Feel good. Always got to feel good. You don't worry about the Christian kids, but you worry about the gay kids. No kid should be put aside. You put these gay kids up here, I hear nothing about helping the Christian kids. You know, I hope there's a change on this school board, and I hope it's quick. Thank you.
good evening.
Good evening. My name is Arlise Williams, and I am the new elected president of SPOUT. And I just came by to introduce myself. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Navarro, come on down.
COVID's not over. You don't even have, if you go to the VA, they're on red alert still. All right, I'm Lou Navarro, perennial Lee Countyan, okay? 52% are failing in the district, and it's not the fault of COVID. That's the easy way to blame it, but that's a serious amount from the breeze I read. Now, we spend our time with LGBTQ and burning books. When I first came here in '72, I got the job because no one wanted to work in Dunbar because they had integrated under court order and they wanted to burn Uncle Tom's Cabin. That's sad. We should be focusing on why children are failing. I know why, but I was a teacher. All right, how we doing on 60,000 base salary? I keep telling you that. And I found places for you to find the money. Board of Education, what do you need $1.7 million for? This is last year's budget. God knows what this year's budget will be. General Administration, $9.9 million? And everybody's tripping over everybody here because you got double positions. Ask my friend, tripledippers.org, Dave J. That's sad. I'm finding you money. We'll skip school administration. We'll give you a buy on that. Pupil transportation services, $62.8 million. That's a failure anyway because it's school choice. We don't need it anymore. We're fully integrated. The courts have released us. Why do you keep wasting money? That's what I want to know. With all that money, we can start the teachers at 60,000 and try to alleviate your 300 teacher shortage. And you got transportation. We won't talk about my friend Radar Roger Lloyd. Why don't you share the tax money with the Cape? They're not happy, and there's basis for it. They're going to come back and see you. I was talking to my city commissioner. You need to focus, folks. Maybe we do need a new school board. Maybe I won't be supporting some of you, And remember, go to tripledippers.org because you all are tripping over each other. This is sad. And I'd like to tell you, I have a gift for Dr.
Thank you, Mr. Navarro. Thank you, Mr. Navarro. Will the following individuals please line up? Jerry Ware, Denise Nystrom, Ian Rankin, Jacqueline Perez, Dr. Samuel Stewart.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
First, I'd like to thank everyone here and the Construction Services Department, because I too, as somebody mentioned earlier today, Ms. Patrica, that there are signs almost everywhere now. I mean, wherever I drive around Lee County, I see the signs, the Change for Change signs. And it's so great as a community stakeholder to see that information, to get a feeling of inclusion, that you know what's going on and where your dollars are going. And part of the one of the major responsibilities of the board is policy. And having sat through the policy meetings, I really admire the fact that you are trying so hard, everyone up here, to follow the state laws. Whether you like them or not, they're the law, and they have to be followed. And how you're doing that and incorporating it into all of the new policies that are being developed. And board, thank you for Dr. Bernier. so far this year, I mean, the school, it appears so far that the school year has gotten off to a great start. And we appreciate that and thank you. And a lot of that has to do with your efforts and everybody else up on the board and being out in the community. And that's one of the big things. So thank you very much.
Good evening
Good evening.
to all of you on the dais. My name is Jerry Ware. This evening, I am addressing the mandate of the Focus Portal, which is the only method for a parent to receive the child's report card. Please correct me if this is not accurate. If it is accurate, this is an unjust directive because there are too many parents who either do not have internet access or don't know how to facilitate the process. I have studied the demographics of 3 of the 5 schools in my immediate surroundings. James Stevens has approximately 400 students, of which 194 speak Spanish. 146 of them speak limited Spanish. 175 of them speak English. Orange River has an enrollment of 800, which 90% of them speak Spanish. Task Elementary has 512 with 90% speaking Spanish. Colonial and Edgewood, I am sure, has similar demographics. However, I was not able to get that information today. The greater percentage of these families will not be able to navigate this process for many reasons. Chief among them is the lack of computer intelligence or the mechanism. I myself tried to navigate it today, and I did not find it very friendly. I'm asking that you reconsider the mandate and make it possible for these families to have access to their children's level of achievement. I am sure that Heights Elementary, Bonita, and some of the other schools have the same problem. I don't understand why it was made a mandate that you have this process to get a report card. Now, if I'm wrong, correct me, but I'm just advocating for those who cannot advocate for themselves. I thank you all very much for what you're doing. I'm very prayerful for the school district this year. I've done that. That's what I do daily. I thank you all for coming back. The teachers, I thank the school bus drivers for enduring the process that they're going through. And with this, I close by saying, correct me if I'm wrong, help me if I'm right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I go across?
Yes, ma'am. That is how you're supposed to go after you make your public comment.
Good evening.
Denise Nystrom, in light of the potential that the public participation policy will be changed. At one of the last board meetings, it was discussed that the participation policy may be changed, and we were told that it was not a fait accompli. This is the policy that speaks to public comment during the board meetings. This policy has been an ongoing concern for parents and community members who do not think that we are provided with enough time to express our concerns during public comment. So if this policy is truly not under consideration, then why bring it up at all? In doing so, it has created the perception that public comment is likely to be changed. One such change written into this policy is to only allow for 30 minutes at the beginning of the meeting as opposed to 1 hour, which is what currently happens. My paradigm as an assistant superintendent who sat at the dais with the Board of Education is that there was no time limit. And if it meant that we had to spend hours listening to the community, then that's what we did. We did it once a month, you have twice a month. If you are seeking to build Community relations, at the very least, provide for 2 hours of public comment, allowing for 40 community members at 3 minutes each, or 60 comments at 2 minutes each. Also, the proposed public comment policy states no person may address or question a school board member individually. Is that to say that when speaking to the chair, the public may not mention a particular board member's name? Because that would be a violation of our First Amendment rights according to the United States Constitution and Article 1, Section 5 of the Florida State Constitution, which states that we have the right to assemble to instruct our representatives. Lastly, there is no reason that when we fill out a card to speak that we should have to indicate the nature of what we will talk about. If you want a very upset community, you will only need to further restrict our ability to voice our concerns. Let's be transparent. We'd like to hear from all of you. Where do you stand on this policy? Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, good evening.
My name is Ian Rankin, and I'd like to have your attention. Thank you. I'm against the 50% reduction in public input, or any reduction for that matter. One would think that a public entity such as a school board would want to increase public participation. It seems to me that this is a slippery slope with the intent of eliminating public participation altogether. If the decisions that come out of this board were more in line with the public's interest, the public wouldn't need as much time at the podium. And as far as the not being able to address anyone in particular, that's just farcical. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Will the following individuals please line up? Tara Jenner, Christy DiVigili, Jen Alvarez, Robert Roper, Kim Hawk.
I'm Samuel Stewart, and I have to
Good evening.
tell
We're going
you-
to wait till they just get back there so that way there's no interference, if you don't mind. Thank you. Miss Lizette, could you start that again, please? Thank you. Good evening.
I apologize.
No.
Anyway, the service here is just terrific, I've learned.
Thanks.
I'm here tonight to share two things with you. One is that I happen to be a member of the Horace Mann League. It's a national group of superintendents. And Horace Mann is noted as the father of the public school movement in this country. He actually lived back in the 18th century. Now, his famous quote is, "The public school is the greatest discovery made by man." And he also said, "Education is best provided in schools embracing children of all religious, social, and ethnic backgrounds." So that's one thing I wanted to share. Now the other is a letter that I wrote to the paper recently. Some of you may have seen it, but it was to the editor, and it said, "Keep partisan politics out of the Lee County School Board. Effective school board members must be well informed about the issue, take strong, clear positions, but ultimately reach consensus on a vision for high student achievement and clear goals for how to accomplish this. A healthy give and take among board members who are elected nonpartisan or who are nonpartisan is an important part of the process of goal development. But board candidates selected by a political party whose loyalties are first and foremost to that party's agenda create acrimony, confusion, and will destroy the process of consensus building. Our community deserves a school system that focuses on the success of each and every student, wisely using the resources of a $2 billion budget. Be informed. Go to www.lee.org vote 411 for nonpartisan candidate candidate information. In a democracy, every vote matters. And again, thank you all for your service.
Thank you.
And the courtesies extended to older men.
Will the following individual please also line up? Shirley Sibbert. Shirley Sibbert.
Hello again. Good evening, Board. Christy DiVigili. Okay. First of all, welcome back to a new school year. And I wanted to ask a question about school spirit days. My daughter was excited to go back to what we thought was going to be a normal school year, and has been in preparation of school spirit days. You know, she's been chatting my ear off about what she's going to wear and how she's going to dress up, and just super excited until yesterday when I picked her up from school. And she said that with no reason given, school spirit days had been canceled. And I don't know if that's like a district-wide thing, or if it's just a North Fort Myers High thing, or what that is. But that's one thing that I was wondering about. She also, and I know you guys know of these things, so just from as a parent advocate's perspective, I'm just making you guys aware of some of the things that have been made aware to me like 100 times over. The 7-period lunches, or the 7-period days. A lot of the kids are complaining about not having enough time to eat lunch. I know Ms. Patrika had mentioned something about that earlier. It's a very real issue, and it's not just happening in one school, it's happening across the board. I know my daughter was one of those kids. She and her friends sat out from lunch the other day because she said that it was just way too overwhelming. They couldn't even get into the line, and if they would have gotten in the line, they would have not even gotten to eat by the time they got out of the line. So, I mean, I know we're in the beginning of the year, so there's some adjustments there, but just wanted to make that known. I did want to point out that, or say, I think it's awesome that you guys are bringing on 62 new school resource officers and a lieutenant, 2 sergeants, 2 detectives, and 1 canine handler for a total of 68 positions. There's been a lot of talk about school safety recently, and I don't think it gets pointed out enough what you guys are doing, because you guys are doing things about school safety right now, and this is one of those things. So I just wanted to thank you guys for that. Other than that, I think the only other thing has any clarification been given to parents as to why the backpacks are not allowed to be underneath the desk for students? I totally understand the cell phone thing, but there have been many students who have been complaining that, and parents, that their kids can't have their backpacks on them, and I don't know, I was just wondering if that was something that had been addressed, because if it had, I had not yet heard about it. Thank you guys for all your hard work, and have a good night.
Thank you. Good evening.
The name is Jennifer Alvarez. I was here last meeting, and I didn't really get a chance to finally say what I really wanted to say because of the situation that occurred in the high school with the jab and the CNA, and I am proud to report that my son finally took his test today. It is now a CNA. And I can't even thank the teachers. I can't even, well, maybe the principal, because I ended up having to call the principal because I was getting the runaround. And maybe the principal made a phone call because within a half an hour I got the call from the schooling that he was eligible for the test. So I just want to mention that, and the whole story, the whole meaning behind that story was that I'm exhausted. Okay, my boys have been here. We moved here when they were 3 and 4 years of age. They were in a wonderful elementary school called Raymond St. Page. Okay, I'm not sure how wonderful it is anymore. But they took my little boy, kindergarten, by hand and just excelled him. Somehow something happened, and we moved into Cape Coral, and we moved our schooling to another school, elementary school called Trafalgar. And right away they told me my son had ADHD. Okay, yeah, think about it. My son just graduated, okay? They told me he had ADHD and that I needed to get him to get help. So it was an assistant principal by the name of Jennifer somebody. I know, but she had my name. And I couldn't believe that she had the nerve to tell me about my child. Okay, so yeah, so this is, I don't know, 8 years ago or something like that, maybe 10 years ago. But anyway, so I started noticing the change. And my whole point of this is I need to let people know, the parents that are coming into this school board, on what you have to do. Because if you are not on top of your child, because like I said, I'm exhausted, because I have been on top of my child since they left Ramesses Page, and all this stuff has been happening to them over the years, and are still to this day afraid to use the bathrooms. That's right. I have a junior, and he still doesn't use the bathroom. Okay, but yeah, I'm exhausted, and I just want parents to pray for the school board. We need new members. We need people that actually care about our children, because it was good, like the gentleman said. At one point, we had the best school system. That's why I moved here, and I don't know what happened. It all unfolded. I think it started with seat 1, because after that, it all went downhill. Okay, so please, parents coming into the school board, be very aware of what is happening, and we need to vote. And exactly, Denise Nordstrom, what she said about public speaking, this is why we need her on the board. Thank you very much, and I'm sorry, but I hope we have new board members come November.
So I just want to remind everybody of our board policy regarding candidates. So please do not endorse a candidate during your speech and your public comment.
Hi, my name's Robert Roper.
Good evening.
And I could have been a furry. I was not strong academically. I was bullied. I was severely introverted. And I didn't fit the social mold of my school. What does this have to do with Lee County Schools? Trafalgar Middle, Gulf Middle, North Fort Myers High School, all are experiencing an outbreak of furries. Some are dogs, cats, a bear. Most are wolves. You have a pig, and even a plant. I guess that one doesn't need to change classes because you just grow where you're planted. I don't know. These kids wear ears, tails. Some wear paws. They dress in black. They hiss, they bark, they howl. They lick each other in the halls. Florida Statute 1001.42 says a parent needs to be notified if there's a change in a student's services or monitoring related to the student's mental, emotional, physical health, or well-being. I think a child identifying as a furry definitely is a change in their mental health. The furry community itself is part of the LGBTQ movement. 80% of furries identify as a sexual orientation other than hetero. A subset of furries are Therians, and they believe spiritually connected to animals. In other words, they're an animal trapped in a human's body. Many Therians and other kins believe that they're a reincarnated soul of a specific animal. That's a religious belief. This movement appeals to people with disabilities and people on the autism spectrum. If a young person feels unsatisfied or upset with their situation in life, it might be easier for them to disappear into an alternate reality or a world where they're able to control things better. Part of taking on a fursona is adopting a subjective age. This means a furry can identify as any age, older or younger. A great deal of work has been done on the equity guide. For some reason, I can't get a response as to why furries cannot be addressed. Why can't we get out in front of this growing infestation and see it for what it is? A golden opportunity to help children that are crying out for help in ways that social media are teaching them. Let parents be parents and let educators educate. Get out in front of this furry thing and be proactive instead of reactive, instead of waiting until it's too late to do something reasonable about. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tara Jenner. I'd like to
evening.
continue my comments from earlier today because there was X number of hours worth of information about policies and only 3 minutes to cover these. And since you had so many policies to read, I recognize that if I sent this by email to you guys, it would be yet more documentation for you to read. So looking at policy 2.062, which is the parental bill of rights, Why not specifically state what the statutes are that deal with the prohibited by law components? And can you put the state statute that applies to each paragraph next to that paragraph rather than listing them on the bottom as like, just like 15 different things? It makes it a whole lot easier for parents to be able to go on a hot link and go directly based on the paragraph that's applicable to them, rather than having to hunt through all the state statutes to see which one applies. I think it's policy 2.062, under health issues, there's no delineation of specified exemption for school immunization requirements. Also, what does timely notified of any verified report of substance abuse violation mean exactly? Can we have a specific timeline for that? How are students supposed to carry EpiPens, diabetic management items, and so forth if they have to leave them in a backpack in a designated place? If they have to keep them on their person, that might mean that they end up having to disclose private medical conditions, which would be a violation of HIPAA. And not only that, but some of these backpacks that parents are purchasing now are Kevlar reinforced as something that the parents feel comfortable that they can do in order to protect their child in the event there is a shooter situation. And I can't remember which paragraph it's in, but there's no such thing as a home education program. It's home education. The program is individually identified by the parent, not by the district, nor is it designated by the state. Why is it that only parents of students with disability that seem to be afforded the right to be accompanied by a third party when discussing and meeting with district personnel? Why does everybody not have that right? What are regular intervals for academic progress reporting for which parents are to be informed? Why not state, again, with specificity what it is? And how is it that parents are going to access instruction and supplemental materials to be made available? With the Naviance thing, I know that Ms. Nystrom spoke about it earlier today. It has been a while since she's been involved in that. I'm wondering if there are any data mining concerns and to whom that information goes, and whether there's any data mining questionnaires involved in that process. There are a number of other things that I have that are on my list of things, but I'm running out of time, so I will probably follow up with.
Thank you.
Board members, my name is Shirley Cybert.
Ma'am, wait, will you get up here? Okay, right here.
Just hold on a second.
In reference of that Franklin Park is going over there across from James Stevens, the portables, and you guys got the migrants over there playing ball. Where the portables supposed to go, you're limiting the portables for those babies and got all the rest of the lot for the migrants to play ball because they cry saying they wants to play ball. You guys are wrong. God knows you're wrong. I went over there and looked and see how y'all got those babies, but you all say y'all for the kids, y'all shake their hand when school start, and then you bust out babies all across the here, south, north, Cape, and not Cape, but over there to Lehigh, everywhere, and block out kids from being able to go to school in their own community. We had schools, but they was taken down, torn down. Y'all bullied our school. You know how you bully a child? And you sit there and don't say nothing. You guys did that to our schools. The place I have here, where we had schools. Safety Hill had schools. Safety Hill was called Safety Hill because it was 2 lynchings. 2 little black boys got lynched, and we had schools. Mr. Robot, he contributed. Mr. Pat McCrutcher, Senior, he contributed $3,000. The whole community got together and built a school for the kids that almost from Miami, Sanibel, Alva, all over. The black kids went to that school, the first school here. And then when more came, we had more black kids came to build the school on Edison. That school was 6 years old when it was closed down. Then y'all took over that, tore down our elementary, Dunbar Middle, and then tore down the gym, tore down the cafeteria. All that was beautiful. Y'all tore it down and bust our kids all over, bust us over, everywhere. I said, and then you say you can't build no school in the Dunbar area. You don't have to, because they purchased that land, they bought that land, and then y'all controlling that land now, keeping our babies from going to to school and making them think that blacks don't have nothing, never did nothing, but they did. Y'all buying these schools, building schools for the migrant kids. I worked for the school 30 years, 3 months, 2 weeks, 4 days. So I worked all the regions, so I still see. Y'all have one black kid in the classroom. You got the 40s putting the red flag to put our kids everywhere, anywhere, and like it's a lot of blacks, but it's not. You keep building $500 million schools. One school, probably $500 million, and you're building it for the illegal kids. Not for us. You're not giving us nothing. We're a taxpayer. We pay our taxes. Now you're doing the tax your penny, and you still not giving us to build our schools back in the community and putting our kids where they could go in their own community. And it's wrong. And then too, please, please, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Newland.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Board and Superintendent Dr. Bernier. I've emailed my complaints to the Board, and tonight I'm supplementing some of those complaints with some documents. First of all, I believe the public is entitled to an update on the total expenditures of Quadruple A and what is the status on the steel that was ordered and was going to be stored, where and what is the total final cost, please. In June, I believe the 28th of June, there was an increase approved by this Board of an additional $35,000 to $50,000 for an investigation of corruption at the district. So I'm going to add to that. I was given a public records last week, which included text messages of a board member sitting on this board and her campaign manager friend vendor. It didn't cost $85,000 to obtain that information. It cost $20,000. I'm entering those texts and phone calls into the history of the records tonight. I found them alarming and concerning that a board member from District 3 voted on any contracts for this vendor while she was a board member for the last 6 years. That contract was valued at approximately $18 million. What is most alarming is that there exist intimate text messages between an elected official and a vendor. That same vendor was protected by this board member, Patrica, during an investigation which led to Attorney Bruno filing a whistleblower complaint. These messages between her and this vendor contain heart emojis and messages such as, "Don't forget me, please," and Patrica responds, "Would never." Heart messages. I want to know how many of you are sending heart messages to vendors and telling them that you're never going to forget them. That is totally inappropriate. And over a contract, $18 million? What's most alarming, the same vendor that Patrica attempted to protect during that investigation is still under investigation, I believe. These messages between her and this vendor contain very inappropriate comments. Phone calls of 41 minutes, 56 minutes, 51 minutes, 47 minutes, and so forth. In those text messages and cell phone calls, which took place on her private cell phone, which she attempted to keep them out of the sunshine. I'm asking this board, I'm going to enter them into the records. $18 million, where maintenance employees have told me this contract wasn't even needed. Maintenance employees could have changed filters and cleaned countertops because it was just housekeeping is what he was doing. $18 million could have gone to our teachers, to our bus drivers, to our paraprofessionals to give them raises. But this intimate relationship with heart emojis and love signs is totally inappropriate, and it didn't cost $85,000 to give to a lawyer to investigate.
Thank you, Ms. Perez. Sir, are you Kim Hawk?
That's Kim Hawk, yes it
Okay,
is.
thank you.
This thing's heavy.
No, yeah, you just set it down. It'll amplify.
No, it doesn't. I have a 65 decibel hearing loss, and I couldn't hear most of what was said today.
Oh.
So I'd like to welcome the new superintendent, and I'm sure you have been told by Patrica and everyone else that Jacqueline Perez is a lunatic. The reality is Jacqueline Perez is angry, and she has a right to be angry. She knows more about this district than anybody. She works harder than anyone in this district. She's never gotten a dime from this district. She ran for school board and lost. It was close, but she lost. Because this district, as you're probably finding out, is run by the vendors, the unions, and this administration. It's not run by the parents, and it's certainly not run for the benefit of the students. Now, this goes back 200 years. This is not anything new. The politicization of government schools is because they're government schools. We have a monopoly, a government monopoly in K through 12. And that's why the Republicans want our schools to teach gun rights, and the Democrats want our schools to teach gay rights, and that's why it's such a adversarial situation. What the rest of us want is an escape. We want school vouchers. We want a universal school voucher. This district already has a couple of vouchers. We have the McKay voucher for disabled students. We have the Hope Scholarship, which is a voucher for kids that are bullied. And almost everybody gets bullied at some point. I just heard about the furry movement. I didn't know that existed, although my granddaughter thought she was a cat when she was young, and now she might be gay, and that's okay. But the funny thing is, this government school thing was not an American idea. It came from Prussia. 200 years ago, Frederick the Great decided that the best way to create obedient soldiers and obedient factory workers, which is what they needed at the time, was compulsory government schooling. And everybody in the world saw how successful that was in Prussia, which is Germany, by the way, now. And Horace Mann from Massachusetts went over there and brought it back to the United States, and it spread like wildfire, and that's why we have government schools. Prior to that, all our schools were private. They were local schools funded by donations, and that system worked pretty well for 100 years or so. So then along came the Blaine Amendments, which was to try to keep Catholics out of the system and keep the dominance of the Protestants. Now the Blaine Amendments finally have been blown away. The Institute for Justice, I don't know if you've heard of them, the Institute for Justice has taken 4 cases to the U.S. Supreme Court. They've won all 4. Most recently, they fought one in Maine, and that is the nail in the coffin for the Blaine Amendments. The Blaine Amendments are gone, so the teaching unions and the industrial educational establishment can no longer use the Blaine Amendments to disqualify school vouchers. So I expect some state and the rest of the country to have a universal school voucher.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That concludes public comment.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming in this evening and sharing with us. I would like to welcome Arlise. Thank you for coming and introducing yourself to us and to the community. Appreciate all that you're doing. We spoke about this today, about the mandate and focus. Dr. Bernier, I'm going to kind of put this over to you as far as, if you don't mind, that it was stated today at the meeting that there is, if someone needs to have paper copies, that we absolutely would give that to them versus the mandate and focus, which was stated today, and I know Ms. Gittens, I believe, had brought that up, and we had that conversation today about that.
Focus is one version and way in which we can distribute our report cards and have families have the convenience of seeing their child's grades in real time. If a parent or legal guardian who is contained within the student management system has a request for a paper copy of the grades, our district office and our schools will comply.
Thank you. I just wanted to get that out, so that was clarification. Miss,
add something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Focus is available in 10 languages as well. That was a concern that was raised, and I wanted to.
Thank you. Yeah, so there's multiple ways of parents to participate and to get that information for their children. Policies, I'm not sure, this public comment policy, Mr. Blueprint, I'm going to ask you because we have not even seen that, discussed that, and there was a lot of conversation this evening about that. So if, If you would, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So on July 25th, when the board first reviewed what they call its bylaws, and included all of the proposed policy for them to review that was provided by Neola, the board did not review the one that was called public comment. Their second review of bylaws was last Wednesday. There was no public comment policy that was provided at that time. The board has not reviewed any public comment policy. There will be a public comment policy forthcoming, but I will tell you the public comment policy that is forthcoming is not the Neola version. So, and I can't tell you when that is going to come. So if that relieves the angst about that, there is no public comment policy. We continue to abide by board policy 1.11.
Thank you. I just thought that was really important because there were several people who spoke on that today as if this was gospel, and we were absolutely doing this. So thank you for doing that. Let's see, just go over a few things. Congratulations to Ms. Alvarez's son. This is my first hearing of the furry, so I myself have never heard about the furries either. So I'm not sure where that is at with the kids in schools. Backpacks, Dr. Bernier, I know that was something that was just brought to our attention as though it was a policy, that we had come up with a policy on this.
Madam Chair, to the members of the board, members of the community, I have spoken with Dr. Spiro directly regarding an email that I received earlier this week related to what was attributed to me as a policy that I made a change regarding how backpacks, cell phones, and Chromebooks were stored in a classroom. That is not an area I've weighed in on. I have Mr. Spiro continuing his look into the particular schools with some of these particular policies. We want to do everything to ensure our children's safety and the ability to communicate with their parents. So I'm not yet prepared. I've not had a chance to debrief Mr. Spiro and have all that information, but I can assure you that the schools are operating in a manner and means that they believe is to the benefit of the students they serve. In some of our classrooms, which I have visited, backpacks in the aisle would become a trip hazard because there's no easy where to store them. However, I think we have to strike a balance between what our parents are speaking about and at the same time what our students need in the classroom, as well as ensuring the safety, not just the way we look at it after Texas, but the way we look at it on a daily basis within the room. So I look forward to being able to come back to you at another time through a board update and then clearly through a public meeting to have additional information.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And then Ms. Shirley, I'm sure, guess she's not here. However, yes, so the Franklin Park is starting to be set up over on Marsh Avenue. However, Franklin Park will be rebuilt. So that is a school that is going to be placed back in its location for the community, and it's going to be a beautiful building once it is finished. So we are not taking things out of a community, we're removing them for a moment so that we can tear down and rebuild in that community. And then as far as our children, our families and community using the part of Marsh Avenue, they've been using that for years, and anyone can rent the school properties, whether it's their migrants, they're our community, they're community members, and we are there for, this is a community. So I've been over there, I've seen them play, and it's families. They're there playing, and they have their children and their grandkids and their uncles and aunts, everybody's there participating as a community and playing. And I would hate to see that disappear. And they're not doing anything, nobody's doing anything wrong. And as far as our children, every single one of our children, we're going to make sure that every single child, regardless of who they are, is going to be coming into our school, have a safe environment, and they're going to come to learn, math, science, social studies, everything that they need to learn. We're going to make sure that they feel safe in coming here and doing that. And that's all I have to say about that one. And again, I just really appreciate you all for being here and speaking to us. And with that, we are going to move on to the next item, which is the approval of the action items. The documentation for action items listed under consent is made available to board members 7 business days prior to the board meeting. We are expected to review all materials, and we have an opportunity to speak with the superintendent with any questions we may have regarding the recommendations. Some of these items have also been briefed or workshopped with the board in advance of appearing on the action agenda. Board members, are there any agenda items you wish to pull for discussion under unfinished business table items portion of the agenda? Ms. Fisher.
I have no pull.
Thank you. Ms. Giovanelli?
This evening.
Thank you.
I have none.
Thank you. Ms. Patrica?
I have no pulse, thank you.
Ms. Gittens?
I have none, thank you.
Ms. Vaughn?
I have none.
Thank you. And Ms. Morgan?
I have one. I, two.
Thank you, and I have none. Is there a motion to approve the agenda consent action items with the exception of pulled item I2?
I'll move that we adopt the agenda as written with the exception of I2.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Vaughn. Okay, it's been motioned by Ms. Fisher and seconded by Ms. Vaughn, and please record your votes. Ms. Roman, do you have? Thank you. 7-0, motion carries. Okay, before we move on, Dr. Bernier, please introduce any administrators in attendance with a new assignment that were approved under the consent agenda.
Madam Chair, members of the board, thank you for the opportunity. It is both a pleasure and a privilege to be able to do this. To the individuals we're both to announce, would you please stand as your name is called and remain standing so you can be recognized at the very end. I would like to thank you for your leadership and your desire to seek these positions of leadership within our schools. But I remind everyone who gets this opportunity that this is a symbol of a district's trust. When you move into the area of educational leadership and continuing to support the health, safety, and education of our children, it's an incredible responsibility. I know you, having met with all of you, you do not take it lightly, and you are indeed servant leaders and want to do the very best by the young people that you will be asked to serve. So I wish you best of congratulations, and to your family members, they are here in support of you. I know it's an amazing feeling for you and a sense of pride to see your family members grow and to take these leadership positions, and I'm always excited to see families and young people gathered around them. And when the board members are finished today with their words of congratulations, we encourage all of you to go out, find some ice cream or a hot dog, and enjoy the celebration. And with no further ado, I'd like to introduce Rachel Ayer, Bonita Springs High School. She will be becoming assistant principal. Sams will be joining the assistant principal family of our district in the North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts family as well. Joining us as an assistant principal for Sunshine Elementary, Heather Lanehart. Finally, it's my honor to introduce Carrie Coons from Trafalgar Middle, who will be joining that staff as an assistant principal. Congratulations to all of you.
Thank you, and we're going to go ahead and take a moment, so if you want to leave, and thank you all for bringing your cheering sections. This is really great. Congratulations, and we look forward to meeting you out there. But you're welcome to stay with us, or you're welcome to go get that ice cream and a hot dog. go ahead and get started again. Let's see. Okay. Dr. Bernier, please read your recommendation for pulled item. We have one pull item to address. Dr. Bernier, please read your recommendation for pull item I2.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Madam Chair, members of the board, the pulled item is I2, the approval of the employment contract with Assistant School Board Attorney Corey Huffman at an annual cost of $161,204.80, which includes both salaries and benefits.
Is there a motion to adopt Dr. Bernier's recommendation?
I move to accept Dr. Bernier's recommendation on the hiring of Corey Huffman.
Okay, and is there a second, please?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. So it's been moved by Ms. Vaughn and seconded by Ms. Fisher. Is there any discussion? Ms. Morgan, please.
So first of all, I want to assure Corey Hoffman and Attorney Dupree Bruno that I will support the recommendation for Mr. Huffman's appointment. However, I feel it is necessary to share my thoughts about the board's role and responsibility with respect to district legal services. My comments have been shared with Conflict Counsel. Prior to 2018, the school district employed an experienced, stable legal staff who provided outstanding service to the district staff, a board attorney, a staff attorney, supplemented during a period of rapid student growth by a second staff attorney. In 2018, legal services were provided by the board attorney, who on retirement in 2019 had served 32 years as a government and school board attorney. The staff attorney, who resigned in 2019, had 13 years school district of Lee County staff attorney experience. At that time, Weiss Sirota, a firm with an education law division and prior current experience in public education law in 11 Florida school districts, was hired to serve as board attorney. For staff attorney, we hired an attorney with 3 years prior experience as assistant board attorney in Miami-Dade. In 2020, a board attorney and 2 staff attorneys were hired, bringing the number of legal services staff to 4 with 24 years of government and public education experience. In 2021, 2 staff attorneys with 10 years of government and education law experience resigned, and a staff attorney was hired from the ranks of district staff. In 2022, 2 staff attorneys with 14 years of public education law experience resigned. As we enter the 22-23 school year, assuming Mr. Huffman is approved this evening, we will have a board attorney and 2 staff attorneys with a total of 4 years board attorney experience, backed by 36 years in general family and legal aid law practice. We are a large business. Our budget is $2 billion. We have almost 100,000 students and 13,000 staff. Ours is a complex organization with operations requiring professional expertise in property acquisition, development and maintenance, procurement and contracts, personnel, finance, etc. Our professional staff requires an appropriate level of professional legal expertise to support their work. The board has 3 employees: superintendent, board attorney, and chief legal counsel. Superintendent, board attorney, and chief legal counsel, and internal auditor. They are our 3-legged stool. Our foundation is as strong as its legs. We recently hired a high-performing superintendent who, in turn, has created a leadership team that, in blending new hires and high-performing staff, is the talk of the state for the quality and expertise of its membership. We board members have expressed our excitement for the opportunities this team creates for students, staff, school, and district leaders. We also re-engaged an internal auditor with nationwide experience in school district auditing, one that practices in a number of Florida counties. We created a board advisory audit committee to support them and us in strengthening our oversight of district, department, and school operations. I would be derelict in my duties as an elected official if I did not question whether our board has given the same level of attention to legal services. It has been said that the reason for hiring outside the ranks of government and education law professionals is the cost of experienced public education attorneys. In 2017, the board performed an organizational and budget analysis of several legal services models. This exercise was repeated in 2018-19. There has been no subsequent review of the legal services team model or budgets. Today, we are asked to hire an assistant board attorney with primarily legal aid experience. He will replace a previous staff attorney with 14 years government and education law experience. His compensation will be $3,000 more than his predecessor. It seems to me that we have an obligation to the newly hired superintendent, his leadership team, and staff to require the level of professional legal expertise needed to support their work. I believe we owe the District General Counsel, our counsel, on the kind of legal team we expect, one that matches in quality and performance our other two reports. It is incumbent on us as a board to seek input from staff and legal professionals in the fields of government and public education and begin the process of revisiting our legal team structure and job descriptions, amending job requirements and years of experience to reflect the needs of staff. We need to more clearly articulate expectations with respect to compensation associated with type and terms of government and legal experience. In hiring and professional development, our board asks for and expects leadership to support high-ability, high-performing employees as part of our mission to become a high-performing school district. Our policies and processes for the legal team should be descriptive and prescriptive in support of this goal. Our legal department is a critical piece of our infrastructure. We need to create parameters to help guide legal department recruitment. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Morgan. Are there any other comments? Ms. Dupree-Bruno?
Thank you very much. I do have a comment, if I may.
Okay.
Mrs. Morgan, thank you for the comments. It is certainly the board's prerogative to review its employees and to ensure they are up to par with the board's expectation, and that's what we would like. With all due respect, I do want to clarify a few things for the board and members of the public regarding the notion that the current attorneys are only family law or legal aid attorneys and offer no experience that could enhance the legal representation of this district. The current attorneys and Mr. Huffman, who is up for consideration, have a dependency law background and have been child advocates throughout their careers. Dependency is a highly specialized area of law wherein you represent the most vulnerable of children. Those who practice in this area know that educational law matters are a fundamental part of that representation, as these children are often developmentally delayed, have behavioral, learning, emotional, and mental health issues, usually relating to the egregious abuse that they have experienced. I can't count over my 23 years of practicing law how many IEP meetings I have attended, how many behavioral intervention plans I have helped draft, how many school conferences regarding discipline I was called into, how many due process, and even when I practice up north, because I do have 3 bars, the federal cases I participated in due to violations of IDEA, the Individual with Disabilities Education Act. I also handled some very unique EEOC complaints, one that I will never forget because of its impact, involving a police officer who needed extra time to write his reports because of his dyslexia. There was concern that taking the extra time jeopardized his colleagues when they were in the field. Although I represented the officer, I was instrumental in helping the department at the time utilize a voice activation system to assist this officer in writing his report, his reasonable accommodation. ESC, special education, EEOC, OCR matters are a large part of education law. In my years of practice, I handled civil liability litigation matters, which continue to this day and is an important function of my current position. In one of my evals, you noted, Mrs. Morgan, that I was a good translator for our outside counsels when they spoke to the board during our closed sessions. That's because I understand their work, I am familiar with the analysis of exposure and damages, the applicable laws that form the basis of that analysis, and the legal proceedings, legal events that come along with these types of cases. Indeed, based on my communication and instruction to one of our outside counsels, we just received an order today that saved the district hundreds and thousands of dollars. This is also part of education law. Attorney Zupke, for 6 years prior to going into her private sector, was a government attorney. As one of the criminal and civil conflict regional counsels serving the 20th Judicial Circuit, which included Hendry, Glades, Charlotte, Collier, and Lee. In addition, a little-known fact about Attorney Zupke is her 6 years of experience in personal finance, including reviewing contracts such as mortgage agreements. I just learned today that a project she had been working closely with construction will end up saving the district hundreds and thousands of dollars. When we were down attorneys and we were left with one staff attorney who handled ESC, discipline, custody, academics, and PERC matters, the remaining legal needs of the district had to be met, including the needs of business services, operations, and any other issue that arose. Despite my board attorney duties, I did not hesitate to step up to the plate to make sure that the other legal work of the district was not neglected. By working things through myself or hiring supervising outside counsel to assist, we had legal coverage, and the legal needs of this $2 billion entity were met, even if it meant that I worked Monday through Sunday to make it happen. In the past 2 weeks, Attorney Zupke and I have received numerous inquiries from staff regarding parents who cannot agree as to which school their children will attend or whether they could go to a school for an event. A parent even contacted the FLDOE with a formal complaint against the district. All of these were handled and navigated with expertise. Yes, it's because, amongst everything else we bring to the table, we have family law experience. We were able to resolve these issues because we understand the terms of arts and the legal significance of each word in the final judgment. Indeed, we have the skill sets of good family practitioners who know how to handle high conflict situations, high conflict people, and problem solve. Regarding Mr. Huffman, as I stated last week at the workshop, he has significant experience representing over 60 children at any given time with educational issues, including enrollment issues, establishing IEPs, 504 plans, student discipline, DOA due process, manifestation determination hearings, and yes, custody matters. He has handled over 30 trials and currently supervises the educational advocate for his agency, as well as other attorneys. Mr. Huffman is well qualified to be the assistant school board attorney assigned to academic services. As we move forward, I am certain that my 13 years of legal management experience will be invaluable to the Office of Legal Services, which is sustained by our 4 cornerstones: good counsel, service, integrity, ethics, and ongoing professional development, which have been my cornerstones throughout my career. I know my craft. We are still looking for good lawyers with backgrounds that will complement our team to include a labor employment attorney. To attract them, we have to have an inviting environment and a supportive district. We will also continue, as has been done prior to my tenure, to continue to hire legal expertise in the areas of real estate, acquisition, and some construction matters and other matters. With that said, at this time, I would ask the board to please approve the recommendation of the hire of Corey Huffman.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Preborno. And Ms. Gittens, you had your hand up.
Change my mind.
Okay. Are there any further comments? Ms. Giovanelli?
I just want to say that I think it's really important that this board voted to allow Ms. Bruno to have a legal team. And I am supporting this superintendent recommendation based on the fact that we need to function at the best possible outcomes for children with the right team in place. I do not believe that the right team was in place prior to this, these changes that are, and we have a new superintendent, it's a new day, and it's really important that we have all departments functioning effectively and efficiently as possible. And I have respect for Ms. Dupree-Bruno and the fact that she is putting the right people on the right seats of the bus for her department to represent all children, and I mean all means all children, and what's best for children. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Are there any other, Ms. Vaughn, please?
I'd like to piggyback off of what Ms. Giovanelli just said. Teamwork is very important, and this is something when a new principal comes into a school, he or she should be able to have, if there are any openings in the administrative team in that school, should be able to have some selections, because different personalities and different ways of work. I'm not saying that one is bad, one is good. I'm just saying that there has to be a meshing of the personalities to get things done. And even more than personalities, the way of work. Dr. Bernier has come in and he's embraced most of the leadership that leadership from, that's not going to come out right, let me rephrase, leadership from this district, and he's also brought in a few new people, which is his prerogative, and I think as good a superintendent as he is, he's going to be even better with choosing like-minded people to lead with him. I agree with what Ms. Giovanelli said about the prior legal team that we had in this district. I remember very, very specifically several years ago that there was an adversarial relationship, mostly going from someone who had already been here in the position of staff attorney toward Attorney Dupree-Bruno. And there were some very petty things that were being done. And I'm just going to say that there are individuals, even now, after they've been gone from this school district for quite a while, that still engage in petty things toward this district. How can we possibly have a productive, professional legal team unless all of the members of the team, all the attorneys in that team can work as a unit? Are they going to get along all the time? No. Are they going to agree on everything? No. But they're the kind of people that are going to have professional respect for one another. And frankly, the teams that Ms. Morgan referenced in the past, a couple members of the, I'll call them the old guard from this school, had no professional respect when this board hired Ms. Dupree-Bruno and did everything that they could to undermine her. That is not the way professionals act. So I am very strongly supporting this superintendent's recommendation for Corey Huffman, and I'm doing so without the worry that somehow we are spiraling downward as a district in terms of our legal department. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Vaughn. Ms. Gittens?
Sorry. Okay, the only thing I have to say is that if we keep looking backwards, we'll never move forward, and we'll fall into the same holes that we've always fallen into. Nothing is perfect, no one is perfect, but we work with whom we have, and there's a lot of times that we have put people in positions that were not ready for that position. And I believe we have seen that our legal team is ready, and what they are not ready to do, it's our job to help them to move along. We just don't have time right now to go through all the turmoil of looking at redoing anything. So I say we move forward.
Thank you. Ms. Fisher?
Yes, thank you. So we're a growing and a changing district. We have a need for a legal team. I appreciate Mrs. Morgan sharing her concerns and giving us the information about how we have been historically. But we're a different district now. We have many new people, and we need new people. We need to move forward. We cannot look back. So I will be supporting this, and I want to say that I have had experience working in the court system, and I have observed Attorney Dupree-Bruno work very hard, be very successful, and communicate well with the attorneys that we have hired to help us with specific needs. As I usually do when we're hiring a new person, I did Google Attorney Corey Huffman, and he has an excellent reputation with legal aid. He was a supervising attorney for education and children's needs. He's even been on YouTube with webinars on how to meet the legal needs of vulnerable children, etc. So at this time, I will support the superintendent's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to make it perfectly clear, this is not about Mr. Dupree-Bruno. And because I felt like there was some conversation there. This is in regards to, the hiring of another person. And I as well, Ms. Fisher, thank you, because I was doing the Googling as well, and I did see everything that you just mentioned. So, and I do believe that we do have to move forward, but I just wanted to make sure, because I felt like for some reason it was going towards like it was about Mr. Dupree-Bruno, and it is not. And Ms. Morgan, thank you for the history, because of course you and Ms. Fisher know a lot more about that than we do, because we were not here at that time. So thank you for that. Is there any other comments or concerns? If not, I'm going to go ahead and I thank you all for participating in the discussion. And I will go ahead and call for, this is a hand vote. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to start with Miss Morgan.
Aye.
Thank you. Ms. Vaughn.
Aye.
Ms. Gittens.
Aye.
Ms. Patrica.
Aye.
Ms. Giovanelli.
Yes.
And Ms. Fisher.
Aye.
And aye. 7-0, motion carries. Thank you, ladies. And congratulations. Mr. Dupree-Bruno, would you please introduce, actually, Dr. Bernier, it's your hire. Will you please introduce?
I'm actually going to defer the responsibility to Mr. Dupree-Bruno.
Okay, thank you. I didn't want to overpass you.
Thank you, Dr. Bernier. And Madam Chair, I would like to introduce our new Assistant School Board Attorney to be embedded in academic services, Mr. Corey Huffman.
Thank you, Mr. Dupree-Bruno. Just want to follow protocol. Okay, so next on the agenda, we have, there's no attorney recommendation, so we are to board member comments. Ms. Fisher.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to everyone for being here this evening. I gave my comments at the briefing today, so I have nothing further. Thank you.
Ms. Giovanelli?
I'll just Never mind, anyways. I'll be real quick. I just want to thank everyone that came out and spoke tonight. I made a lot of notes that I will talk to the superintendent about. Some of them have already been addressed, so I really appreciate that, because one of the things I was going to bring up, the fact that we've not discussed the public comment about with just one of Neola's policies that we're reviewing, but we as a board have not even had that conversation, and I believe that we'll have that conversation and the public will be able to comment at that time. But I appreciate them appreciate the community being proactive in expressing how they feel, because you don't always get that opportunity, so thank you. I think that mostly, Spirit Days, Dr. Bernier, if you could look into that. I'm curious about Spirit Days, but I know every school does things different, so I would, and then I feel really bad that students aren't able to eat lunch, so that if that's an issue, I'd love to see how that's going to be addressed, and especially, I guess, for the new 7-day period. That's not the first time I've heard of that being an issue. Really, other than I'm really excited about the new school year. It's a new day, a new superintendent, going to be a new legal team, and I appreciate some of the new staff that Dr. Bernier's brought on. I'm excited about that, and I'm excited for the staff that is working hard to open the schools. 2023, here we come. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cheek. Sorry. Thank you, Ms. Chiavedelli. Ms. Patrica?
Just the only thing I want to add to this afternoon's report, and I mentioned this to you, Dr. Bernier, was the Fast Pass that was used at the elementary schools was outstanding. It provided for a level of engagement by parents, safety and security, and efficient order that I have never seen before on the first day of school. So thank you for doing that, although I think it was a little misleading to make the kids think they were going to Disney. Otherwise, it was fabulous. Thank you.
That was good. Ms. Gittens?
Okay, first of all, I want to say thank you to all of the staff, the teachers, the administrators, the maintenance people. When I went into several schools in the last couple of weeks, before the students were there, and it was just the staff and the teachers, and they were all just super excited about getting started. I haven't talked to them this week yet, but I'm sure they're already, getting into the swing of things. And a couple of highlights from some of the schools. I was at Bayshore Elementary, and the kindergartners, Ms. Patrica, are the best. So they were having their lunch in their room, and I went up to one little girl and said, "So what is your name?" And she told me her name, and I said, "Can you spell it?" She said, "Yes, I can spell my one name and my two name." I said, "You mean your first and last?" "No, my one name and my two name." So I learned something from a kindergartner that day. We have one names and two names. They were so cute, though. They had what do they call it, up on the board with their names up there? I forget the name of the program. But they would run up and point to their name and spell it and all. So really, really good. And one thing that I noticed, too, I was talking to the teacher, I would say over half of them knew how to spell their names, their one name and their two name. And we were talking about how the DPK and the preschool training, and a lot of the students had gone through that process. So it really does help and really works. Then at another middle school, I was in lunch with third graders. The fried chicken looked really good. I wanted to get some, but I didn't. And walking around talking to the kids, and there were some really interesting stories. This one little boy, I asked him his name, he told me, and I said, "So what do you like about the first day of school?" He said, "Well, I'm going to take the bus home, And he said, I'm a little scared. I said, oh, you'll be fine. He said, yeah, because when I get to my stop, I get to take out my phone and call my mom, and I'm only 3 blocks from home, and she's going to know I'm on my way on those 3 blocks. I said, you will be totally fine. He said, yeah, I think I can do it. That's the innocence of some of our kids. And thank you for our bus drivers. One day, we got a report from the superintendent every day when all of the buses were back at the compound. And I think there was only one day that there was one section that wasn't back until after 7, but the notation was that 20 minutes was because they had to wait for the parent to get home. And I think that's a testament to our staff. They didn't just drop the kid off and say, well, your mom will be here soon. They waited the 20 minutes. So know that your children are in good hands. The other thing, I had never seen so many kids with no front teeth eating chicken that much off the bone. The bones were clean, but no front teeth. It was fabulous to watch. I went by Lehigh Elementary, and I was talking to the principal, and a parent, mother and father, were walking with their kindergartner and second grader that they just picked up, and the principal asked them, did they want to say anything, because I was live on Facebook, super, and so they were all excited. So if you go to my Facebook page, you will see, and I think I got more hits on that because they told all of their friends, and they were talking about how wonderful it was to have the first day and how much they loved the school. One of the highlights was during graduation time, I had the privilege of doing graduation for FSW Collegiate High School. And at the time, they had invited me to come back over to the school. So it just so happened that that was this week. In fact, it was yesterday. If you have any doubt when we talk about the Lee County school system helping each and every child achieve their own personal potential, you should go to a school in the East Zone, a school in the West, and a school in the South, and go to Collegiate High School. There are students there, it was their like second day or third day, and they're all wandering around. We visited the freshmen first. The freshmen were all in one room, and they were working in groups to figure a way to protect an egg, and then they dropped it from the roof. So everybody got to go outside and see it, you know, the box and everything drop. There were some yellow streaks on the sidewalk, but for the most part, their eggs were good. And Principal Botts was telling them, it was very interesting, at the very last minute, he said, okay, you've got about a minute left, and I know some of you are not finished, but this is going to be typical of life, that you have more to do than you have time to do it. And when you're working with a group, we're trying to help you learn how do you work with a group to figure out in that last 1 minute, what can you finish and what do you leave until the next time. So the lessons were just awesome. And then there was one, I want us to do this one. I'm not going in your boat, but they put like a blanket out on the floor, and a group of like 12 kids had to stand on it, and they had to flip it over without touching it with their hands. So it was quite interesting to see how they did it. And the last one, they were building the highest configuration out of balloons, the small balloons. And at the end of the period, the teacher said, okay, let's clean up, and you can pop the balloons. Oh my goodness. It was loud, they had a blast, they left out smiling and talking to each other. So, and I say that to say we have something for every student. We have the academic, we have the ones that need remedial, we have ESOL, we have everything. So when we say we want each child to reach their own highest personal potential. We have something for everyone, and thank you all for doing that. No, I'm not going to go there. So anyway, I just want to say thank you, and I believe our last couple of meetings have been very productive. We've got a lot done. I had people say, well, there was a lot accomplished in that meeting. And just like I said before, we need to move forward, look forward, because if you look back, you're going to fall in the pothole you just climbed out of. So everyone have a good evening, and welcome back to the next school year.
Thank you, Ms. Gittens. Thank you, Ms. Gittens. Ms. Vaughn?
I'll just briefly repeat for those who may not have heard it earlier today that I'm very thankful for all of the staff, the teachers, the bus drivers, everybody who is working for and with this school district, and that includes our kids and our parents, for a very smooth start to school. Was everything perfect? No. But when you think of the difficulty we've had in finding bus drivers, in having enough teachers for every classroom, that could be a recipe for a total disaster, and yet things were smooth and people seemed pleased at how school started. And I have every hope that within the next few weeks we will fill all of our classrooms with permanent teachers, permanent certified teachers, and that we find enough bus drivers and ways to get our children to school and on time. And of course, looking ahead, you said here's to the new school year. This is also going to be the school year that we develop the proximity plan, and I see that as something that will not only enhance academics for children going to schools much closer to their homes, and ownership by neighborhoods and ownership by the parents of those schools. Plus, of course, it'll take away some of the headaches for our transportation department. And I think Ms. Giovanelli mentioned, I had two, there always are concerns. I'd heard a lot about the lunches and the time and all of that. So I think that's on Dr. Bernier's radar at this point to get back to us with some reports as we get into this second week of school, if some of these glitches in cafeterias have been solved. And yeah, I was also curious about Spirit Day. That's a tradition that I very much support, that particular tradition. And okay, I was going to say something about furries, but maybe I will. Look at this, Giovanelli. Mr. Roper, when you were first talking, I honestly thought, this is satirical. He's taking, no, I know it's not. But
Ms. Vaughn,
yeah.
Yeah, please don't just address a certain member of the public when you're speaking.
And why not?
We don't do that.
We do that all the time when we respond to public comment. And I'm not insulting him. I'm saying I thought it was satirical, but I did learn something from you. And as a matter of fact, I was going on Google, and one of the first things that came up, it said furries in Florida. So I'm definitely going to take a look at that, because I just mentioned Spirit Day, and I thought, yeah, we have wildcats, like from Estera, we have all kinds of animals, and I wasn't sure where that was going, but anyway, Mr. Roper, I learned something from you today, and I did listen, and that's all that I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Vaughn. Ms. Morgan, please.
Well, I want to compliment the superintendent and his staff. This emergency management forum that was set up to for the first 2 days of school to address any and all emergencies that came up during the course of the day, starting at 5:30 in the morning. I thought that was brilliant, and I'm sure that was a great resource for staff who might have been struggling in different parts of the district. Ms. Fisher brought up this afternoon, but I always like to mention partnerships. School District of Lee County received a $100,000 grant from the Department of Agriculture to support farm-to-school projects. The grant will allow Healthy Living Collab to expand gardens beyond the 28 schools that have one now and increase the number that are able to provide food to their school cafeterias. That is awesome. They are doing it the grant is being done in partnership with 15 other local and state partners. I want to mention one of the items on the agenda tonight, the improvement of the agreement with the Lee County Sheriff's Department for our SROs. Those are our public safety officers on our premises. They are working with and mentoring students and families, disseminating information, arbitrating disputes, providing assistance through referrals, protecting our property. They're a powerful presence and an important point of transition between the school district and the community. So again, I compliment our Sheriff's Office and the Cape Coral Police for continuing to collaborate with us to support the number of SROs. Well, not the number we would like, but certainly a number that helps us in our schools. So those are my comments this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for bringing that up, because I was going to mention that too, that Ms. Fisher had spoke about that farm to school grant. And also what they had stated is that last year they had 800 pounds of produce went to our schools, which is really good, and they're expecting it to double or triple this year by having this grant. So that's an excellent thing for us going forward. And they say they sell out of that immediately. As soon as they put that on the lines, it goes. I know that this afternoon too, Ms. Fisher had stated about the presentation that was made by the technical centers, Mr. Pease and Mr. Everly, at the construction industry meeting, and it was really well attended, and the questions that they were asking for input and the community involved were very ready to fill out that information and send it in. So that's a great partnership there. Ms. Patrica and Ms. Fisher were there. And then I know that they spoke about Franklin Park, but to me, that's always a great day. It was the gentleman's welcome, and several of us were there, and it's just so exciting to see the kids, their faces, their parents. I'm not sure who's the superstar, if it's the kids or the parents, or the people there, doing the high fives, but collectively, the community comes together for this. And this year, we were able to take a lot of that, the people that were there, and move them to Fort Myers Middle, which was the first time that we really had something like that at Fort Myers Middle School. And they even had the tiaras and the hats, the horns, bringing in the new year for the schools. And the kids coming in and speaking to their parents, they said, look at us, we are so special, because our school is the only, we didn't tell them Franklin Park just did this, but they felt that look what our school is doing for us, and this is the only school that's doing this. And it started their day off really, really well. So it was really exciting. Ms. Giovanelli and Ms. Fisher were there as well. But it was exciting, and there's all the other schools that we visited.
And then I also had the opportunity on the first day to go to what I call Command Central, which was at the South Bus Depot. I had never been in there, and just watching just how they were maneuvering buses and just the buses coming in and locating where the buses were at and just going through all of that. And as Ms. Gittens stated, the one had waited for a child to be picked up. Nobody understands that they're doing that. And then if that is one of the earlier buses, that's a trickle-down effect for the other schools, so it delays all the other kids from being picked up too. So I just really have to praise what our bus drivers do. And I watched them come in and bring in their buses, get their buses ready for the next day, fill it up, and just get ready for 5 o'clock in the morning for the next day. I mean, it just was mind-boggling what they do down there. So I'm very thankful for that. Also, I had the opportunity we did our first on August 6th, Ms. Giovanelli was there as well, our first summer graduation. Dr. B was there with us, and Mr. Ramirez. But it was our first summer graduation. 12 students graduated, 4 attended, and it was really nice. It was at Fort Myers High School, and just seeing those kids, even if it was just one child walking across that stage to get their diploma, that to me is a good thing. And we had the opportunity to be there and share that with the family, so I was really happy that we were able to do that. And then also, I had the opportunity to go to Dunbar Middle School with Miss Lewis's class, Youth and Government, and I flat out told them right off the bat, I am not a teacher, so they would have to help me, but they told me I passed the test. It was a great course, a great class, and we just spoke about the different policies, different things that take place within the district, and they are creating policies for, or bills that they want to take up to Tallahassee, whether it's a local bill or a state one. They're not sure which one they're doing yet, so this was the first one, so they will be inviting more guests in there and deciding. But that day, that class went so fast because they had so many questions, and there are 6th graders, the majority of them, so it was 6th, 7th, and 8th, but they filled up the board with their sticky notes so that they will continue to build on their first process. So it's been an exciting week for the beginning of the school year, and I'm just really thankful to everybody that's involved in this. And with that, that's all that I have to say. Just, thank you all, and let's have a great school year. And Mr. Bruno, do you have any other comments to make, or any comments?
The only thing is, Ms. Jenner.
Mike.
Ms. Jenner, if you could forward your comments on that board policy, because I could not capture everything, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Is that it? Okay, Dr. B.
Just very briefly, first and foremost to the community and to our parents, our students, first of all, thank you for a great opening to school. Ms. Vaughn, you are correct. It wasn't perfect, but we did a great job. And that is due to the administrators that are still gathered in this room. 5:30 wake-up calls from Michael Ramirez telling us that we needed to get going. Early phone calls in as principals opened their doors and maybe found the air wasn't on, and Frederick and Barbara Sedano were able to respond immediately and get air conditioning and HVAC turned back on for families and for our students. It really was a great opening of school. I share with you that it's truly a privilege to serve this community, but with that comes the pressure of serving this community. But there's a great line that my boss and I used to use back in Las Vegas, and it's on one of my coordinator's wall. The phrase is, pressure is a privilege. The feeling of this pressure and the responsibility of this job is a privilege, and it's not lost on me. It's not lost on the decision the 7 members here made to ask me to come here in February, and I've never ever looked back, so I appreciate the opportunity. I do want to say that the first days of school are due in part to teamwork. I'm very excited about an open and re-engaged school community with our parents. It's been too long since you've been in our rooms, and whether you're gathered in the board chambers tonight or somehow still listening on TV, we want you back in our classrooms. We need reading tutors, we need volunteers, we need PTSA, PTO moms and dads to come back to that process, school advisory chairs. It's time to really start doing the work again in helping our children and our community realize that our schools are open and we're back to the business of reading, writing, and arithmetic. Those are the goals, those are the outcomes of a school district. We can look at the inputs and the outputs, but we're very interested in making sure that we are moving the outcomes and the needles. That being said, what I saw in our school buildings, and this is important for me to repeat, so I apologize for the length, what I saw in our school buildings were the core values. I saw belief in students. I saw people believing that all children had the opportunity to learn. I saw excellence. I saw a standard of which they were trying to engage with this community on the first days of school and deliver a product, whether it be a bus driver or a cafeteria worker or a classroom teacher or principal or anybody in between. They were really driving excellence, high expectations, and they want, and I tell you, the principals are talking about accountability. They want to be able to move the student achievement needle, but they're looking for the additional support of additional leaders here at the central office to understand how to measure, how to think about return on investment, or more importantly, impact. What's their impact if you were part of the work session this afternoon? But I think the one thing I stress, and you heard me stress with the new appointees tonight, about trust, this job is about integrity. And the people who work with me, it's about their integrity as well. It doesn't matter whether you're a bus driver who told a kid on the first day of school, I am so excited to have you back on my bus route. I can't tell you how excited I am to be driving you again. We got our first nice email of that morning. It was a real pleasure to have, and that bus driver has the luxury of having the superintendent as his bus monitor one day next week. I'm excited about that opportunity to get the perspective of what it's like to be a bus driver in this community. Finally, I just want to touch on a couple of things. Lunch definitely is an issue. 7-period days is an adjustment from 8. Lunch shifts get shorter. Cafeteria workers have to step up their game as well, but I will tell you at Riverdale High, I got the best chicken that I've had in forever. They are an amazing staff at Riverdale, and if you know Riverdale, its cafeteria is a little smaller than some of the others, but they're going to be able to make it work because Scott will figure it out. As to Spirit Days, the lovely part of modern technology is the ability to communicate with the chief academic officer, who then communicates with the chief of high schools, and we get an answer back. There have been no changes in that particular high school regarding Spirit Days. There may have been some level of miscommunication, but that particular principal is full on to make sure that North community continues to celebrate the way it always has. Finally, I would like to just let everybody know, 8 schools, 2 bus yards, lots of board members in between, great chance to watch kindergartners, but my favorite, I have to agree, was a kindergartner who patted me on my stomach when she said, "Why are you so big?" I took that as tall. Not sure that's how she meant it, but that's the way I took it. And then she wanted to know how old I was, and the questions continue. So what I love about kindergartners is there's absolutely no filter, and I do appreciate these first days of school, and mostly to the patients of the community. We have some growing pains to work through. We have transportation issues, but it's not just our transportation. It's how we assign children to schools. It's how we determine whether they have a bus ride or don't. It's about what level of choice do we continue to transport, and I'm excited about the engagement tour and the entry plan moving forward and the ability to engage with the larger community around those issues. Finally, I just want to take an opportunity, since this is our first action meeting, to make sure that 2 particular individuals who were appointed the other night, they are physically on the ground. They are here. They have become great members of the team. It doesn't take long to know that you really needed them, as well as the staff that was already present. So I'd just like to take an opportunity and a point of privilege just to ask Michael Ramirez and Jennifer Cupid McCoy to stand and be recognized, our new Chief of Staff and our new Deputy Superintendent. Tonight.
Thank you, that was a great ending. Okay, the next scheduled meeting of the board on Wednesday, August 24th, there will be a board workshop at 12 p.m. On Tuesday, August 30th, there will be a board briefing at 1 p.m., followed by an action meeting at 6. At this point, having no further business to come before this body, this meeting is adjourned, and the time is 7:59. Thank you.